We will call the regular board meeting to order, please, and if we can have the roll call.
Mrs. Stulen?
Here.
Ms. Cheney?
Here.
Ms. Carney?
Here.
Mrs. Lightfoot?
Here.
Mrs. Bohan?
Here.
Mr. Conrady?
Here.
Mr. Mansell?
Here.
Today, we celebrate Veterans Day, so I'm going to ask for anyone who is a veteran to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would stand, please.
Do you have any veterans?
There must be at least one or two of you. We have no veterans here tonight? Okay. Well, on that note, I think I'm going to ask all the gentlemen in the office to please stand. Next time and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Next time, watch out, ladies.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have our consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve minutes from our regular meeting held on October 14th, as well as our minutes from the special meeting held on October 28th. Thank you. I'm looking for a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? See none, we'll take the vote, please.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Ms. Carney?
Yes.
Mrs. Bohan?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mrs. Stulen?
Yes. I'm looking for a motion to approve our accounts for the month of October in the amount of $5,416,139.38.
I'll move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions and/or discussion? See none, we'll take the vote, please.
Ms. Carney?
Yes.
Mrs. Bohan?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mrs. Stulen?
Yes.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
I'm going to pass the correspondence file around, starting over here to my right. And our announcements.
Yes, we do have 3 announcements. Today is Veterans Day, and we want to take a moment to express our appreciation for any veteran who has served for our country. Because of your service, we are able to enjoy the freedoms we have today, including that of public education. So thank you to our veterans, to those who have served, and to those who continue to serve us and stand up for the United States in our military. Also, November 16th to the 20th, 2015 is American Education Week. It's observed annually the week before Thanksgiving to show support and appreciation for public education. And here at the Marshfield School District, we take public education and our responsibility for providing one of the best public educations anywhere for this community. So thank you to all of those who participate in providing this opportunity for the students of this community, and to all of those who participate in public education across the country. Also, the 2015-2016 school board election dates, I'd like to announce those, please. The last day for incumbent office holders not intending to seek re-election to file notification of non-candidacy is December 28th, 2015. The deadline for declaring candidacy is January 5th, 2016, no later than 5:00 p.m. The spring primary, if required, will be held on February 16th of 2016, and the spring election will be April 5th of 2016. If you need information about board election dates, please contact Jenny Haig here at the central office.
Thank you. Do we have any district recognition this evening?
Not at this time.
Okay, then we'll move on with the agenda, and we have acceptance of gifts. We have 2 gifts this evening. A donation from the Marshfield Area Education Fund through the Marshfield Area Community Foundation in the amount of $340 to cover hotel accommodations for visitors from China for the International Student Exchange Program. And a donation from the Marshfield Tiger Booster Club in the amount of $1,595, and a donation from Marshfield Area Youth Football Incorporated in the amount of $1,000 designated for the purchase of a football scoreboard. What is your desire regarding these gifts?
I move to accept these gifts with gratitude.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
And everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we do thank those individuals and organizations that made those donations. Our next agenda item is our superintendent's report.
Yes, last week, November 4th, marked the end of the first quarter. Elementary and middle school parent-teacher conferences are underway this week. High school parent-teacher conferences start next week, Tuesday, November 17th. A special thank you goes out to this year's homecoming committee. This year's events were a positive experience for everyone involved. Jess Lemoyne was a major participant on the committee that helped successfully revamp our homecoming. Her creativity and energy ensured the success of this project. We also have had several compliments from the community members on the orchestra performance with I'm Not a Pilot. Thank you, Phil Smith, for going above and beyond to organize this great concert to showcase our students' talents. And then we have some reports. We move on.
We will move on.
Giving the first report this evening is Mr. Ron Skoromsky. I'm wearing a tie, and he's going to come up here to the podium.
Thank you. Good evening. Building and Grounds 2014-15 review. I want to start off by talking about projects that we accomplished throughout this year and some of the things that we do when we kind of go into every year looking at things that need to be addressed throughout the district. Each year we start out trying to prioritize, and that changes depending on needs. We look at what is the funding available. We look at what is health and safety of our students and staff. We look at health and safety of the public using our facilities or coming to our facilities. We look at curriculum needs, and we also balance, is it a need or a want? And we try to balance and prioritize the best we can. And what we do is we plan the work, and then we work the plan. And again, that prioritizing things do change, and I'll kind of talk about that here in a few minutes. Some of the projects that we got done at the high school, the building envelope, the main office. If you haven't had a new opportunity to take a look at the office, very welcoming, looks really nice, real professional. The new office is a byproduct of the energy efficiency projects that we are performance contracting, if you will. The main focus of this was the comfort of the people inside that work in that office. We had some major troubles with the HVAC system in there. Help me, Jenny?
Under control, Mr. Strauss.
I cannot multitask, so, all right. So the byproduct of actually going into that space and correcting our HVAC problem through our performance contracting, while we're there, we improve the space at the same time. So again, if you haven't had an opportunity, it looks, in my opinion, looks really nice. The front canopy going into the visitor's entrance into the office has been completed. The common security station and kind of a secure vestibule area going into the commons, mainly for the students, is completed. Again, if you haven't had an opportunity to see that, again, turned out, I think, pretty nice. A lot of miscellaneous things. Obviously, anytime you're tearing into an older structure, we have to start, looking at the ceiling tile. So the whole original building, 1968 building, was replaced with all new ceiling tile throughout the hallways. Wrestling room, mat hoist, sidewalk repair is ongoing, parking lots, and some doors, exterior doors for the field house. Middle school, we finished up this summer. We'll talk about that briefly here in a few minutes, but the major focus of the middle school this last year has been the HVAC, finishing that up, lockers in the hallways and in the locker rooms. Tennis court has been redone right now. It's got a little more work. The second phase will be the actual painting of it, but it is usable, and it was just great to see the PE kids out there this fall every day using it, enjoying it, so kind of proud about getting that completed. Roof repairs, exterior doors, locker room showers, electrical and data upgrades throughout the building, and of course, capping it all off is, or encapsulating it all is our ceiling again. Other improvements, kind of put all the elementaries together. It's a wide variety of projects throughout all the elementaries, from the exterior repair at Grant and restroom doors to the wastewater treatment plant upgrade at Nasonville, service driveway, water lines at Lincoln, new lockers at Lincoln, so a whole variety of things. Of course, there are some smaller items that I just don't kind of put on the list, but there's a variety of small things that also were accomplished in a lot of those elementaries. Some of the special projects, again, I kind of mentioned the performance contracting, and again, the middle school. Middle school, we finished the 3 years of the renovation project, and to be honest with you, I thought it went really smooth for working for 3 months and then having 9 months off, and then getting right back at it again. So for right now, everything that was in the scope of that project that the board voted on or agreed to has been completed. For the most part, everything is working real well. We do have some things, there's no question at any time that you do that and finish the HVAC, you need a full heating season and a cooling season to get everything dialed in and get the balance right. So for the most part, I've had some real positive comments, but we do have a few issues that we are working through, and we will continue through the heating season. Performance contracting, we accomplished a lot of things actually, mainly in the summer, 400 days. Our building automation system is throughout the district now, all 7 buildings, all on the same building automation system. Before we had 2 of them, one was very problematic, had issues with it all the time. Now we are again on 1. All our air handler units have been converted to VAVs, or variable air volume now. Our pool equipment is completely been replaced at the high school in the upper mezzanine. The pool equipment, again, most of you have never been up in there. It's probably you never have a reason to, but if you do and you want to look at it, the pool equipment probably would take up half of this room. It's pretty impressive, and it came in pieces, and they got it up the stairs and put it all back together, and it's working very well. Window upgrades, boiler and domestic hot water, that main focus is at Grant. All new boilers, all new domestic water, and probably the biggest thing at Grant is back at the top, the building automation system. It was our only building that did have DDC control, or direct digital control. It was on pneumatics and very problematic, holes in the lines, miles of air lines running through the building. No more. It's all gone, and we are up and running really, really well at Grant. Again, some things part of the performance contracting. Other things that we're always focusing on building and grounds and with the IT department is our security. And so right now where we sit, we have secure entrances district-wide. We have access control now district-wide. We have lockdown capabilities district-wide. And our camera views, if we kind of take a look at 2012, that's when we entered into the security audit, and it was February of 2012. At that time, we had 20 camera views throughout the district. Now we have 220 camera views throughout the district. So we made some real good strides in the last several years. But now what we need to probably do is the next step is to focus on our practices and procedures, our management of our system. What is the best practices? What is the best procedures to do? And possibly this may need some professional help again to help us in these areas of best practice and procedures in our securities. Future projects, this is just a snapshot, if you've seen it before, of the 5-year plan. I believe next month I will be showing this to the Finance Committee and also Building and Grounds. Again, just kind of took a snapshot where we're at right now. If you can see, 2015, 16 is getting pretty full up. Yeah, prioritized. There's no guarantee it's all going to get done. I just, that's not necessarily reality sometimes. But we are getting prioritized. We're getting ready for the next year already. So again, that will be presented in Finance next month and to Building and Grounds. When I talk about the prioritizing and the things change, to be honest with you, is what does winter bring? And sometimes, I plan, but God commands. I look at all this, and then depending on the winter, what does our parking lots look like? Come April, what does our sidewalks look like? Come April, and now it goes back to prioritizing again health and safety of students and staff, health and safety of the public coming to our buildings. So things change. So you got to always keep that in mind. But it's a moving list. If it doesn't get done this year, we keep it on, and we hopefully it comes back around for the next year. I've put this slide in multiple times. It looks a little different this year. And this is our building usage outside the school day. Now, in the previous years, I've actually showed you numbers. It was close to 4,000 in a year, not including the high school, of how many people, requested a reservation to use our facilities. We do have a new reservation system, and it pretty much, at the end of each month, tells us how many hours those buildings were used. And so you can see the breakdown, and it comes down to, if you can't see it, over 22,000 hours of extra use. Again, some of this is our stuff. It's not athletics or anything like that, but if you have a PTO meeting and they might need to reserve a room, that would be on there too. So again, over 22,000 of extra use. You divide that by 24, that's 918 extra days somehow, and divide that by 7, 131 days added to the building. Not all buildings have the same amount of use, obviously, but not sure what all that means, but it sounded good when I rattled it off, didn't it? And before I ask for any questions, I'm going to just bring up some interesting facts. I think they're interesting, and obviously, when I'm done, maybe you don't. First interesting fact, 98. 98 is how many exterior doors we have at the high school alone. There are 238 exterior doors throughout the district. That's a lot of handles. That's a lot of panic bars. That's a lot of hinges. Next number, 362. That's how many toilet fixtures we have throughout the district. 120 at the high school alone. I just had to. That's why. I know what you're thinking. That's interesting. Pardon me?
Choices.
Yep. 37. That's how many 1,800 square foot homes would fit inside the field house, including the locker rooms and pool and the weight room. But you take the square footage of that footprint of that field house, 37, 1,800 square foot, your average size homes can fit inside of it. I did have the number for the whole district, but I kind of lost it. I think it's 334, but don't quote me on that. Any questions? I would say I nailed it then.
At this time, I would invite Jenny Frederick to come forward. Jenny's brought several guests with her from the Career and Technical Education program, or departments. So we have some chairs up here, and maybe we'll need a couple more, but I'll get out of your way.
Well, thank you for the introduction. My name is Jenny Frederick, and I'm the Career and Technical Education Coordinator for the School District of Marshfield. And this evening I'm here to share the Career and Technical Education report to the board. And I thought I would start this evening with a definition of career and technical education. CTE programs provide students with a foundation for a wide range of careers that reflect the contemporary workplace. And a comprehensive CTE program provides students with the opportunity to develop college and career readiness skills, academic and technical skills that promote lifelong learning for our students, work-based learning, which enhances business and education partnerships and provides students with opportunities to reinforce skills and behaviors to be effective in the workplace, and also development of leadership and 21st century skills through career and technical student organizations. And you'll hear a little more about all of these things this evening. Throughout my slideshow tonight, I embedded pictures of things that have happened in career and technical education over the past year. And in February, it's Career and Technical Education Month, and this past February, Dr. Tony Evers, the State Superintendent of Schools, visited Marshfield High School. And it was quite an honor to have Dr. Evers visit the Career and Technical Education Department at the high school. So I do want to invite Mark Z to come up and talk in just a minute about our agriculture program, but before I do that, I wanted to mention we have a variety of career and technical education classes at both the middle and the high school. And I plan to be an active member of the curriculum review team. I know I'll work closely with Kim. I already do for quite a few projects, and so I'm excited to be a part of that curriculum review cycle for each of our departments within career and technical education. And those include agriculture, business and information technology, family and consumer sciences, as well as technology and engineering. So at this time, I'd like to invite Mark Z to come on up and talk a little bit about the agriculture department. Just let you watch.
All right, set my watch. Again, my name is Mark Z. I teach agriculture at the high school, school forest coordinator, and also an FFA advisor. We got Mr. Haig in the back. He teaches at the middle school and also at the high school. If you look up on the board, currently we have 14 classes in our department. The first 4 classes that has ES in front of it, that stands for equivalency science. That means that students that take that class and successfully complete that class will get science credit for it, and also are eligible to carry that science credit into a college entrance admissions type of requirement. Below that, we have 3 transcripted credit classes: forestry, wildlife management, and horticulture. Those are transcripted credit classes with Mid-State Technical College that they can receive credit for. Below that, we have some elective programs that serve the needs of the community. We have small animal vet science, animal management, dairy science, and agribusiness management. And then finally, for upper level students, the juniors and seniors, we have a youth apprenticeship program in various categories, and then also agribusiness co-op for the senior level class. So a wide array of classes up on the board, 14 classes in our department that Mr. Haig and myself teach, and we're pretty excited. Currently, we have 328 students that are enrolled in our classes. I don't want to forget about our middle school course, our Exploring Agri-Science course that Mr. Haig teaches at the middle school. So those are our classes that we have in our department, a very diverse amount of classes, and that meet the needs of the community and so forth. So the next slide I have is the FFA chapter. Just hit this button. I need the next slide. Okay, the FFA chapter, currently we have about 160 people, or students in the FFA, middle school and high school. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, we have many community connections. That's our Food for America program that we take every 4th grader from the surrounding communities out to Normie Lane Farms and give them a tour of a highly modern farm. In the lower right-hand corner, we have community service that we do the highway cleanup. And then we just got back from the National FFA Convention in Louisville, Kentucky. In the upper right-hand corner, Tabitha Weister is a national finalist in emerging ag technology for her youth apprenticeship program, working at the research station. In the lower left-hand corner, we have our environmental science team that won the state contest and was competing at the national contest and ranked silver. Our FFA chapter, you have some brochures in front of you along with the FFA alumni. That's a very active organization that fundraises for us. And I guess I'm going to conclude with, I look at my shirt here, Marshall FFA established 1941, so this spring we have a very exciting time for our chapter. It's our 75th year anniversary of our chapter, so we're going to be celebrating it this spring with our banquet and inviting a lot of different people back and enjoy the 75 years of success that we've had in our chapter. So thank you for your time.
Well, that's pressure. We said 2 to 3 minutes, and I think you did.
Yep, I'm on.
So if I get long, just start looking at me. Charles Trinkler, Business and Information Technology. We're a 4 instructor crew. Janine Deitch and myself are at the high school, and Dan Aiken and Rhonda Gadel are at the middle school. I also teach the alternative ed night school program on Mondays and Wednesday nights. I'm actually back to the high school full time now. I was at the alt school half-time for a number of years, so I've done a lot of things just at risk. But this is our course list. I didn't do the numbers like Mark did, thank you. But you can see, we too are varied. We've got the 2 offerings at the middle school. Dan does the 8th grade, Career Quest. And then you see all of our offerings. We have 1 required course, computer applications, that comes in both regular and honors. Web design, advanced web design. You see the TC, that's for transcripted credit. Actually, that photo right there is from Companion Day Services. I think I can share that. I'm teaching the advanced web design this semester, so we're in the process. We're working with, I think we have 5 real-world clients. 2 I can't really mention yet, but real positive experiences for students. And you see the list. We're kind of different because we've got 2 AP course offerings as well. I teach human geography and computer science. This is terrible. I'm the B&IT guy. And I'm sweating too. You're not supposed to tell people that. You can see it. FBLA is our CTSO. Rhonda Gadel heads that up there. You can see a picture of it. I believe that's last year's state competition, but that's what it's all about. Obviously the academic engagement, but also getting the kids involved in the community, the real world experience. This is something that Janine has done for a number of years, and this year they actually won. They took first place and will be headed to the state competition, the Finance and Investment Bowl. It's held in Wausau, funded by the Asset Builders of America. But again, that real world experience, the opportunity for these students to compete with peers from around the state. Janine also writes a grant every year through the Wisconsin CPA organization, and it helps fund not only that finance bowl, but also a nice trip every year that she takes. You can see some of the businesses that she's visited. And this is more so kind of my area. Although you hear and read, no doubt, a lot about computer science awareness in recent years. And we're lucky in Marshfield. We actually have 3 computer programming courses already that are in place. And I wanted to feature just a little bit my code club. I had a couple of senior computer science students last year that were aggressive. They came to me and said, Mr. Trinkler, we want these opportunities to compete with peers. We want to learn more about computer science. So I kind of put it on them, and I said, I'll be the advisor, but it needs to be student driven. You need to do it. And they stepped up, and this year again, I have 4. My officers are amazing. They're 9th grade boys. We have girls participate too, but they're aggressive, and the club has become so active, even already in this first quarter, so it's a good thing. Other things that are coming up, and are probably going long. Hour of Code in early December. Many of you have probably heard of that. You'll hear more about that through our code club. It's this notion of getting everybody exposed to what computer science is. So we'll play an active role in that. What else do I want to talk about? I guess the last item here, Geography Awareness Week. You see the ArcGIS and StoryMap. We're lucky, in fact, this afternoon I got confirmation. Our city GIS coordinator, Geographic Information Systems, or sometimes it's referred to as Sciences, David Bueller, he's coming in next week. It's Geography Awareness Week, and on Wednesday, it's actually GIS Day. So he's coming in and he's doing this whole thing on career paths and exactly what GIS is. And we're really looking forward to integrating ArcGIS, Geographic Information Sciences, into our curriculum, and it's really applicable to a lot of the sciences. So I think that might be the end of my slides. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rayanne Leonard, Family Consumer Sciences, and we, as you can see from our courses listed there, we are also at the middle school and high school. 7th grade, we're part of the WHEEL program, so we have an exploration class taught by Samantha Will. And then she and I also teach Career Quest, so I teach at the middle school as well as the high school. Our part of the Career Quest, we focus on applications, so we work with students they apply for a job within our Career Quest Cafe that we run, and so we do a simulation where they they apply and interview to get some real world experience. And we also work with them on the academic and career plan. So we are working on kind of planning out their 4 years of high school. We try to, we work with them starting already this quarter, first quarter, to get them ready for high school. So at the high school, we have a variety of courses. We have transcripted credit classes in the medical terminology class, as well as our health career connections. So if students are interested in the medical field, we have exploring health careers, medical terminology, and then the health career connections is at the senior level. They spend time out in the community observing and participating in job experiences. We also have food and nutrition classes. We have food, family, and society, food and hospitality management, and food science. And those classes are taught by Carla MacArthur, and we have 11 sections of foods classes this year. So we spend a lot of time in our foods lab. And then our Human Service Academy taught at Tiny Tiger Intergenerational Center. So we work with Companion Day Services and the Child Care Centers of Marshfield. I teach parents and children there, which is a transcripted credit class. They earn credit at Mid-State, and Careers with Kids, where students are able to earn certificates to work in childcare at the age of 17. So that's a great opportunity for the students, and as well as serving the needs of the community. There's a lot of employment needs in the childcare field. And then we have youth apprenticeship also that Jenny takes care of, and future teacher internship, where students are out in the classrooms. They go to one teacher's class 4 days a week, and then they are in the high school for 1 day a week. So that works out well for them. And then, what do I do here? Just push this little button. Our CTSOs are FCCLA, which we have a middle school and high school chapter. And we really focus on community service in that organization. And then our HOSA, Health Occupation Students of America, is a growing organization for us. We have over 50 members, and we compete statewide and as well as nationally with other students in the medical field and competitions there. So that's Family Consumer Sciences.
I'm Ben Will, one of 6.5 tech ed teachers in the district, and I'll be speaking on behalf of technology education. At the middle school level, we do offer technology education for 7th and 8th graders. Sean Trudeau and Mike Paul have been implementing some pretty exciting new curriculum involving Gateway, and I know if you got an opportunity, he would talk your ear off about it. But it's kind of neat because us at the high school, we're starting to see some of the benefits of what they're doing down there, and we really appreciate it. They also do Career Quest, where they begin to explore different career opportunities in the area of technology education. As far as high school technology ed, we have not only an abundance of different ranges of courses, which we feel really showcases a lot of the different careers that are available in the central Wisconsin Marshfield area. But we have extreme depth in all of those different areas, whereas students who might be interested in engineering, construction, automotive, not only just get a taste of it, but they also get some very good experiences over the course of several years. In many cases, by the time they graduate from high school, they have skills that are highly sought after by local employers. Being here in the Marshfield area, we have the opportunity to offer such a depth. We have been implementing some of the Project Lead the Way programs, and Caleb Henderson and Megan Bremer have been outstanding with that. We've finally been able to offer all 4 classes. They've seen the enrollment go up. Those are intro to type engineering classes, higher level courses. Students can receive post-secondary credit for taking those classes as well. Aaron Scheuer with the Construction ACE Academy is able to take the students out to job sites and get them some real-world experiences. We do have a new auto technology teacher, Troy Cum, and he's got some fantastic ideas with updating the automotive curriculum to make it more relevant to this day and age. And then I also teach the metal technology classes. At this time, all 3 levels of metal technology are transcripted through Mid-State Technical College, where the students are able to receive post-secondary credit. So I think that pretty much takes care of all of it. We do have many students that take full advantage of youth apprenticeship. We have a lot of local industries that work very well with us, and I can't thank Jenny enough for all of her help in helping these students with the paperwork side of it, as far as finding employment and getting that opportunity to experience what it's like to work in the real world. Those experiences have been extremely valuable for so many students. Our Skills USA chapter, which is our local club, we're pretty proud of them. We have had many district, regional, and state gold medalists. This year we're pretty excited. Allie Eckes, who's in the upper right-hand corner, she's a senior this year in youth apprenticeship. Also in Skills USA, she is District 2 Vice President, so we're pretty excited to have her doing that. So that's what I got. Thank you.
So just a few more things that I want to talk about. This slide represents our 2014-2015 work-based learning students. This is really the first year that we've seen typical numbers in work-based learning since the Great Recession. When the economy is doing well, our students are working. So in the past 5 years, there's been a 26% increase in the number of students enrolled in work-based learning. So that's really great for our students. I told you I was going to talk a little bit about some of the pictures. I know we missed a couple of them as we were going along, but I guess in the interest of time, I'll just keep going. This is at our Marshfield High School Central City Credit Union branch. So the young man that's working is Brett Martin. He is a finance youth apprenticeship student working at Central City Credit Union, and the young lady, she's a member of Central City Credit Union, but she also happens to be a pharmacy technician youth apprenticeship student working for Marshfield Clinic. So this slide outlines what our 2014-15 youth apprenticeship students are doing now. You can see that 20 of these students are continuing their education, 3 of them at a technical college, the remainder at this time are at a university. 3 of our students have continued on, except this time doing full-time employment, or they've accepted an apprenticeship position. And then 15 of our students were juniors last year, and they're continuing their youth apprenticeship experience as seniors. And pictured is one of our 2015 graduates who's currently working part-time at Tiny Tiger Intergenerational Center while she's also going to school full-time at UW Marshfield Wood County. These are the courses offered at Marshfield High School for transcripted credit or advanced standing. You heard some of the teachers talk about these courses this evening. Marshfield High School students earned 551 transcripted credits from MSTC and saved over $76,000 just during the 2014-15 school year. I wanted to talk just briefly about some of the strategic priorities that I've been working with over the past year. Under Priority Area 2, Personalized Pathways, this slide shows the launch steps that I'm working on. And work has already begun on many of these launch steps due to the collaboration I have with Kim and the Academic and Career Planning District team. This team of teachers, school counselors, parents, students, community members have already met and are helping the district prepare for the statewide implementation of academic and career planning, which is scheduled for 2017. These meetings will occur throughout the school year, and our work will be guided by the 15-16 academic and career planning action steps. Under Priority Area 3, Family and Community Engagement, this is the launch step that I'm working on this year, and certainly something that a lot of us in this room are going to be working on. A team of community members will be meeting for the first time tomorrow evening to begin the Agriculture and Technology Education Program evaluation. Our meetings consist of tours at the middle school and the high school to see the equipment and the facilities. They'll talk with our teachers, and we'll also utilize a quality program standards rubric to evaluate our ag and tech ed programs. And Dr. Wells and I meet regularly to discuss the progress on all of these launch steps, and I really appreciate her great ideas and her support through all of these. I also work very closely with Crystal Bowman, our district communications specialist. These are the things that we've been working on over the past year, and you have these documents at your table, and they can also be found on our website. We've posted them there as well. CTE has 3 additional funding sources besides the district. We have the CTE incentive grant, which awards school districts funding based on the number of students that graduate with a high school diploma and earn a certificate from the Department of Public Instruction, the Department of Workforce Development, or Business and Industry. Funding is limited to up to $1,000 per student, and the 14-15 school year was the first year that this funding was available, and I'm currently working on the application. You can see I have a projected 59 students for this coming application. The Carl Perkins grant, we've used funds from that grant to purchase things like Real Care baby infant simulators in family and consumer sciences, new tools for the construction lab, a cold saw and metal tech, and in this picture you can see some of the robotics that we purchased as well. The career prep grant from Mid-State Technical College allows us to send our students to Mid-State Technical College events such as the career views and program showcases. These are a few other types of activities that I'm involved in with our school district and also our community that benefit our students. Some things to highlight: I'm the district PLC leader for CTE. I facilitate the School to Career Council. We have about 30 members from business as well as education that collaborate quarterly. I am also an active member of Mackey's Workforce Paradox Committee. I'm a Sunrise Rotarian, and I'm also in the 2016 class of Leadership Marshfield. The photo that's on this slide is actually one that was just taken on Monday from a panel of human resources professionals who spoke with participants in the college and career readiness professional development. I facilitate many of these sessions throughout the strands. So at this time, I would just like to say thank you, board members, for your support of career and technical education. I'd also like to say thank you to the talented teachers that I work with and the very supportive administrators that I work with as well. So, thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was great. Okay, we'll continue with our agenda, buildings and grounds, meeting update.
Yes, we did meet. During the meeting, the old business, we had the athletic facility feasibility study. And at this point, I would like it if Pete could explain the ad hoc committee and where you guys went to the rest of the group.
Sure. Well, the Rattler Corporation took, I don't know even how many there was, like 12 of us in the Green Bay area, and we toured several athletic facilities. And number one, all of them had artificial turf for their football field. And I call it a football field, but in reality, it's really a curricular area. I mean, the PE students use it, the band uses it, you name it. Those facilities have multiple uses. Great thing about that is you don't have to mow the grass. We don't have to worry about rain. We don't have to worry about mud. If the band needs to practice, regardless of the weather, they do. The following week, or was it 2 weeks later, the northwestern part of the state was viewed. I didn't happen to go along, but I heard the reports from other ad hoc members that were there. And in some cases, these high schools actually rent their facilities out to other schools for band practice, etc. So it is very, very, very impressive. And I believe, Pat, there was about 9 schools looked at. Ashwaubenon, Green Bay, what was that college, Pat, or the
Pier.
Lawrence. I mean, it was just, everything about the whole thing is just impressive. Pardon?
Here, St. Norbert's.
Yes, yes,
Cameron, Rice Lake, and Cumberland.
yep, and the baseball fields, with the synthetic, turf, and, it's very, very, very impressive what we saw. We queried some of the athletic directors on their uses, which I just talked about, but also the income that can be generated by these really nice facilities. one thing that I was really impressed with, and help me out, the plaza areas. You know, and the plaza area would be similar to going to Beal Stadium at halftime and kind of hanging around a concession stand. These plaza areas, they're gigantic, and someone told me they actually even have weddings at these plazas. So that's how impressive these things are. And I know Ron was talking about the number of bathrooms we have. There are laws regarding how many bathrooms you have to have on the site, determined by the number of people attending a game. And was it Lawrence University had 57 toilets in their room, Ron?
In the women's.
Yeah, yeah. It was just another fact, you know, that Ron and I thought was kind of cool. But anyhow, so. And Saucerman was on the 50-yard line at every one of these stadiums, and I went up to him, I said, Pat, you're ready to strap him on, aren't you? He said, "Yeah, I am." So, but anyhow, it was very, very, very informative for our whole group.
And during all of your tours and your surveys, with looking at the schools here, you guys made mention of so many areas where we lack the space and the usage for the classrooms involved.
Yeah. Part of we also toured, Bray Associates took us on a tour of the interior of the middle school and Marshfield Senior High School. Obviously, the middle school it's really nice looking. But I made the comment, 15 years ago, maybe 15 females lifted weights. Now there's like 300 females lift weights. Our facilities haven't grown with our users, and I think Nathan Delaney indicated, and I might be wrong here, but I think it's like 860 of the 1,200 population of Marshfield Senior High School uses the athletic facilities for one thing or another. And that kind of, Ron said it before, we got wants and then we got needs. And when I toured that thing, and I'm a lifelong Marshfield resident, we got a need out there. So that's the one thing that the ad hoc committee kind of came up with. And I know Dorothy is bobbing her head. She went through the same thing on her own with Ron and Pat, and I think you kind of came to the same conclusion, Dorothy. So it's an eye-opener. It is really an eye-opener to do something like this.
And that goes along with the usage from the community as far as the open gym and the swimming pool that we have there existing now. Moving on, transportation boundaries. Due to the recent annexation of the city, boundary changes are occurring. So we've discussed them. They'll be coming up during the next month's meeting. Also very exciting was the school forest improvement update. Final revenue for the timber harvest amounted to $31,340.39. That's huge. That's huge. That shows the management of our school forest is being done the correct way. School forest pond was also drained in order to install new aerator. And Ron showed us pictures of the floodgates. The floodgates were shot. They noticed that the pond was going down on its own. They had to dig back. They found the floodgates. They since have repaired the floodgates, and the pond, I believe, is in refilling or has.
It has gone up a foot already since
All right.
40 last.
Along with that, a fish stocking plan is in place once the water level is restored. So, I'd like to thank all the people that have managed the forest out there, school forest. The gentleman that has been watching the timber, Mark Z. and
Dan Peterson from Verso has been managing that school forest since 1982 and has just done a wonderful job, and his company has bought into the school forest and knows the importance of it, and that's why he's able to continue what he's doing out at the school forest for all these years. So he does a great job communicating with all the parties involved in the school forest that the timber harvest affects.
Okay, that's beautiful, and thank you, because the numbers show it, the school forest shows the management practices, everything, and what you guys are doing. Wonderful job, thank you. That is all I have.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, we'll move to policy. Dorothy?
Okay, well, the policy committee did meet on October 28th. I was not in attendance, but Francis and Mark both briefed me on the events of the meeting. In terms of the old business, I'll come back to that because we have a number of action items before us this evening. The new business was that the committee looked at the Neola Policy Series 6000s, which is dealing with the financial aspect of the district, and that is before you this evening for a first reading. I would say if anyone has any questions or comments regarding the Series 6000, the financial policies, that contact probably Pat Sosserman first, because if you contact a member of the committee, we're going to defer you to Pat anyway. So contact Pat if you have any questions on the 6000 series that are before you this evening. Future agenda items for the policy committee as we're continuing our review of policies before us is the 7,000, 8,000, and 9,000 series. So there's no shortage of work for the policy committee as we go forward into the subsequent months. This evening, though, we have the policies that were brought forward last month for a first reading that are coming forward this evening as action items. And I would, if there's no objections, at the last meeting, we did discuss the policies, and then we invited any board members with any questions to contact any of the members of the committee. None of the committee members were contacted with questions, so I'm moving forward with the assumption that none of the board members have any questions related to those policies that were before us for a first reading last month.
No, I have a couple of comments about two of the policies.
Comments about them?
Comments, yeah.
Okay. So in terms of being efficient with this, perhaps we could set aside the policies that you have questions about, and maybe we could put the rest of the policies into one motion and then deal with the policies that we have questions about.
Sure.
Would that work?
Excuse me, please.
That's Amber. Yes, Amber?
Yeah.
We can't do that because we need to pass or at least vote on the policy 100 first so I can participate.
Okay.
The bylaw?
Oh,
Yes.
that's right. Yes,
The
okay.
bylaw? Well, why don't
So
we take that one?
first things first, thank you, Amber, first things first, I will make a motion on behalf of the committee to approve Neola bylaw 100. Is that the one that we're dealing with? That's definitions.
It's the 0100 definitions and 0100, 700 duties, actions, and ones.
That's correct, Jenny?
Yes.
That's it.
Yes, because there's a series,
There's a number of series within that framework.
So on behalf of the committee, I would make a motion to approve bylaw the 0100s, including 0170. And these policies will replace any of the other policies previously in place regarding these items.
Okay. I was just looking for policy 170 on the list, and is it embedded in? Did you say policy 170?
Item B.
Oh.
Well, we just do 100 first.
Okay.
100 and 170.
It's
They're all
embedded.
together.
They're all together.
She says it's B, 145?
She's looking at the agenda here.
Oh, okay.
On this agenda,
Okay.
it's B. On the
Okay.
board agenda, it's
It's- I
letter
see.
B.
Okay, so,
And the big item there, Dorothy, was the voting.
Correct.
I see, she's got it listed there. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve policy 100 and 170. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll take the vote, please.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mrs. Stuland?
Yes.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Ms. Carney?
Yes.
Mrs. Bohan?
Yes.
Okay, Mary, could you identify the policies you wish to have a motion separately on, please?
Yes. Agenda item I, Neola policy 8330, the pupil records.
Okay.
And also, agenda item K, the Neola policy 9130, request suggestions or complaints from the public.
Okay.
Okay, so Dorothy, do you want to do the rest of it?
Sure.
What you suggested?
So that will leave us with, I will make a motion on behalf of the policy committee to approve Neola policy, item number C under our agenda, bylaw 0145, sexual and other forms of harassment. Neola policy 0155, item number D on your board agenda, which is the consolidation of the committees. Neola policy number 3281 / policy 4281, item number E on your agenda, which is personal property of staff members. Neola policy 5114, non-immigrant students and visitor programs, which is item number F on your board agenda. Neola policy 5630.01, use of restraint and seclusion with students, which is item number G on your board agenda. Neola policy 8325, receipt of legal documents by district employees, which is item number 8 on your agenda. And that will be the motion. Those policies will replace any policies previously in place regarding these
Did you
items.
J as well?
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, I will also include J, policy 8462, child abuse and neglect.
Okay, we have a motion on behalf of the committee to approve those policies as so cited. Does anybody have any questions or comments on those? Seeing none, we'll take the vote on that motion, please.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mrs. Stuland?
Yes.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Ms. Carney?
Yes.
Mrs. Lightbite?
Yes.
Mrs. Bohan?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Okay, then why don't we, before discussion can occur, we need a motion on the floor, please. And why don't we take 8330 policy?
Sure. I move on behalf of the policy committee to approve Neola policy 8330 regarding pupil records, item number I on your board agenda.
Questions? And Mary, I understand you have a question, but you did not pose that to any of the committee members prior to this time?
Right, because I felt like this should be done in public. Just, you know, it's more of a concern, and it's an idea that might be outside the box a little bit. There are options for parents to opt their children's data out, which is wonderful. But there are some school districts that are choosing instead to opt in if they want their parents or want their children's data to be able to be used and shared. And I think personally, I prefer an opt-in rather than an opt-out clause. So,
Any comments to that?
We
Frances?
actually had quite an extensive conversation about what this included and some specific questions about, and Dr. Wells gave us a good rundown of what the parameters are for data that might be shared and would not be shared. Is it possible to have you reiterate that for the whole board?
Sure. Just a little background. Student records are quite a comprehensive category. There are a lot of student records. And previously, in every single district in the state is required to have a directory information or a student records policy. Within that, they frame what is called directory information. And directory information is that information which is normally made upon request to those outside of school organizations when they're looking for information. So there's a number of things that can be considered directory information, and those include personally identifiable information such as the name, the parent's name, their family members, their address, the mother's maiden name. There's all kinds of information that can be considered directory data or directory information. But school districts take action to create policies where you can define what you will designate as directory information. Previously and prior to this current school year, many districts included things such as student's name, their first name, their parent's name, their address, their mailing address, sometimes their email, their grade. That is not happening anymore. Schools are taking action, and this new policy does limit ours significantly. And if you'll look It is on, well, I guess it's on page 4 of 8. Now our student directory information is their name, their photograph, their participation in officially activities and sports, height and weight, and if a member of an athletic team, dates of attendance, dates of graduation, and awards received. So we've really narrowed the scope of data that's being called directory information. So if there's a request for that information, you can't get it. Why is this being done? Because quite honestly, we live in a different society than we used to live in years ago. And because it's quite easy to have just a couple of pieces of information about somebody and really steal their identity. So we're really locking down what's available and been made available. That was part of our discussion regarding why things are changing and becoming tighter and tighter within the policies. The second discussion about this is that schools are having increasing legislative mandates put upon them to make sure that they comply with all the other statutes and codes out there, including federal laws such as FERPA and all the rest of those types of things that we have to cross-check and double-check and triple-check anytime somebody asks us for a piece of information. So that's where we are today.
Francis?
And in light of that, where we were going with that is why do we even keep these things in the directory information? And if you look through it, it's mainly things that the press might be reporting on for student achievements, if we have an AP Scholar, if we have an athletic team and they're reporting scores and, you know, some data on how well the team did or didn't do or whatever. And so often they will include the name of a student who, you know, had a high score during the game or something like that. So that's why it's kind of limited to the kinds of things that would be in that category of public interest. And to get all the kids on all the teams or all the parents to opt in would be somewhat cumbersome, but they all know that they can opt out if they don't want a picture of their kid taken at an athletic event or don't want their name out there.
Thank you, Francis. Mark, you have any comments?
No.
Pete?
Is this an option for when they're enrolled in school?
Each year, the policy is put out there and and obviously when they're enrolled as well, so if they enroll mid-year, but parents are given the information that says if you don't want your child's name released, and at the high school especially, if you don't want your student's name released to a military recruiter, you just inform the district and then we put them on a list and their name is never released. Crystal gets the list. I don't actually have it. Jenny might get the names, but the school secretaries send those over. They go to the buildings and then they're sent over to the central office so that.
I guess it would make sense to me that if they had the opportunity at enrollment, if there's an opt-out checkbox.
And every year.
And opt-out, so it looks to me like the opt-out provision would be a lot easier for the parents and the administration to handle. I'm guessing.
I would agree. Dorothy, anything? No. Okay, Amber, anything that you want? Can you hear me, Amber?
I can hear you. And besides with registration and when you enroll, it's included in the student handbook every year at every grade level from pre-K through 12. So the parents are seeing this in multiple locations that if they want to opt out, they can. So I think our parents are well informed.
Okay.
Cool.
We have a motion on the floor to approve policy 8330. I see no other comments or questions. We'll take the vote, please.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mrs. Carney?
No.
Mrs. Lightfight?
Yes.
Mrs. Bohan?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Okay, Dorothy, policy 9130.
All right, I would like to make a motion on behalf of the policy committee to approve Neola policy 9130, requests, suggestions, or complaints from the public. And this policy will replace any other policies previously in place regarding these items.
Okay. And again, Mary, you have a comment to make
Yeah,
on this?
well, there's just I just have a couple of comments. One is, there's a new steps in place for parents to go to if they have complained about curriculum, if they have complained about a particular book, or they have complained about a particular teacher, which is great. We need to have that structure in place. And there's certain people that they're directed to go to. And I just don't know who is our district residency or homelessness coordinator. Tracy, okay. And also, I'm assuming the director of teaching and learning is Kim. But on the website, and maybe this is fixed in the new one, she's actually listed as the director of curriculum and instruction. So
You're correct. It is like
Okay.
that on the old site, and I
Right.
think once we completely convert to the new site, because now it's still optional, Crystal?
It's out there.
Okay, but then it's listed
I
correct.
just want it to
Yep.
be simple for parents to
Absolutely.
understand who they need to go to with specific problems. And I guess I just feel like as a board member, since we're the ones approving the curriculum, and yet we're the last on the list to whom complaints would even go to. I guess that just, I'm concerned about that. I just, if I receive a complaint, what am I, as a board member, supposed to do? I guess that's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's an interesting and a good point. And my predecessor in the policy committee, Mark Critelli, would often explain it very well. It's the role of the board to set policy and proceed, and it's our responsibility that we take very seriously that we set the policy. But it's not our role to manage the business of the district in terms of what we have hired the administration to do. So when we're applying that lens to issues related to concerns with curriculum or a teacher, we have competent administration that are hired to deal with issues of personnel, to develop curriculum, and we approve, A, the administrators that we hire to entrust them to the job, and B, there is a process in place that if we go through all of the systems and processes that we have approved, that the buck still does stop with the school board. So I think that the same applies with somebody who has a question or a comment related to, for example, a textbook. I've got a sixth grade textbook. As a parent, if I have a question or concern about a sixth grade textbook, and I call Frances Bohan, who's the school board member, she's going to tell me, what road did you go down first? I'm the last point of action. I'm not the first point of action. And it's the same with a teacher, a complaint about a teacher. We have these processes in place. And so it's the same with this one. Of course, the board is always apprised of what's before the administration that would have any kind of dealings that would ultimately go to the school board. But I think this policy just follows that type of procedure, that we have the folks in place that can competently review a textbook for sixth grade. And, once that process is vetted and gone through, and there's still issues, it always comes to the school board. But I think, really, it's our job to set the policy, but not to actually get into the minutia. That's why we have a director of teaching and learning.
Thank you.
And typically, if I get a phone call from someone, I will ask those questions about who have you talked to the teacher, whatever. And the reason is often the question has to do with something that went on in the classroom. So that teacher should have the first opportunity to address it. If it is the textbook, I can remember looking at a science textbook once that we approved, but there was a particular chapter that we weren't enamored with. So curriculum, this is years ago, but at the time it was decided that supplemental material could be used for that topic. So the teacher will know those things more readily because they use those things every day and they know what's in the curriculum. So it just makes sense to start there and then go to the building administrator and then work their way up. Occasionally, I get a phone call about something that I refer to a proper committee through administration or something. So I let administration know that this is an issue and maybe it doesn't fit as easily in the classroom or with the building principals. So they will then refer to the proper committee, but it still has to go through the proper board committee at that point. So I think this kind of outlines that. That doesn't mean that people can't still call board members. In other words, the board member will hopefully be talking to them about the process, because a lot of people, even though we're talking about it today, there are people that won't hear this discussion who may not know the process. And so it's up to us to make sure they know it.
And I would just add to it, it's the same that happens here, Mary. Somebody might call and they're upset about something that happened in a classroom, and the very first, everyone in this office who answers the phone though is skilled in asking, well, have you spoken to the teacher? And we go through this sort of conversation with them about what their next steps are and next steps are and next steps are, and that's very, 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 very important. And one of the most important aspects of that when you think about it is, first of all, it's empowering those people who you've hired to do their position, to do it well. But that relationship between that student and that teacher, or that parent and that teacher, must be maintained, in as good a fashion as it can. And it's the same if it's a complaint about a principal, or if it's a complaint about me, or if it's a complaint about Kim, or if it's a complaint about a piece of curriculum or whatever. Those relationships are only maintained through that communication. And when that ability to have that first run of communication is taken away, it takes away something from that individual's credibility. And that's why it's another reason, at least for us internally, why we're very, very careful to always ask those questions. And where have you started? Not that we won't help, not that we won't listen, but really, where have you started? So.
Well, I would just ask in the instances that, and granted, maybe I should have mentioned this before, but I've been contacted by 2 different parents who have tried to reach Kim and have had difficulty. I know you're very, very busy, and I know you wear many, many hats, but, when they're kind of told when they do have a complaint to go to her, but then, I know she's very busy, so.
And one of those good things to do then, when you do hear things like that, is just pick up the phone and call me, and if I'm sitting in a meeting, Jenny will take your call and just say, please let Dee know this. And then I'll take care of it as fast as we can.
Okay.
And while this is off the motion, just further to that, I can guarantee you, because I get calls regularly, and anytime I then call Dee and put it on her plate, she doesn't only address it immediately, but she follows up with me to tell me what she's done. So, that's why we have a superintendent, and she'll make sure that it's addressed and people are gotten a hold of, because everybody is busy, so.
And then I just have one other question. That there's an exception for the sex ed curriculum, and that there's a advisory committee, and I'm just wondering, I've never heard that there was an advisory committee. It's under C, it's the Human Growth and Development Curriculum. I was just curious, who's the advisory committee?
It's required to have an advisory committee for human growth and development, and Kim, having not had gone through the human growth and development curriculum here, but typically it's the nurse, the guidance counselor, maybe there'll be somebody from home ec department or the science department, but that's usually who's on those committees.
Okay.
Francis?
And I actually served as
There
a
you go.
community member once on, and it's in the cycle when we review the curriculum is usually when that committee convenes and goes through the review. So do we still have, we still have community members, or?
On that particular committee, we haven't been through a review, so I don't know.
In a while.
It's required to
Okay.
have community members on it.
Okay, if there are no other questions, we're going to take the vote on the motion, please.
Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Ms. Carney,
Yes.
Mrs. Lightfoot,
Yes.
Mrs. Bohan. Yes. Mr. Conrady,
Yes.
Mr. Mansell,
Yes.
Mrs. Stulin.
Yes. Okay, Dorothy, you have one item left.
I have one item left, and just a comment too. to the board, and it's a critical one. When we bring policies, for example, the 6,000s, for a first reading, and we invite comment, and we ask a member of the board to contact the committee, I think it's fundamentally important for the public to understand that that does not mean that that concern is not aired publicly. If a comment or a concern is brought to a committee member, we then discuss that when we do our review of the policies at the committee meetings, which are public meetings. So I have said to the public many, many times, the business of the district happens at committees, which are public meetings. So I just don't want there to be any misconception out there that if a board member has a concern related to a policy, that it is not aired publicly at a public meeting. It absolutely is aired publicly at a public meeting. I think that's just really important to note. Having said that, I have one last action item. The policy committee would like to make a motion to approve the 4K to 6th grade student handbook, and it must be noted that it will be updated because the board now approved policy 8330, so it would be updated to reflect the changes of 8330. And that elementary student handbook will replace the previous elementary school handbook.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the 4K through 6 student handbook. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'll ask for the vote, please.
Ms. Carney?
Yes.
Mrs. Lightbite?
Yes.
Mrs. Bohan?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mrs. Stulen?
Yes.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes,
Anything else?
that's it for me.
Thank you very much. We'll move to curriculum and instruction. Amber?
Hi, the CNI committee did meet. We met on October 28th. The first thing on our agenda, we reviewed the current grading guidelines. These guidelines were established 2 years ago. Since that time, the high school had clarified those guidelines, but the committee asked that those clarifications be incorporated into the district guidelines for consistency's sake, and so all the teachers at the middle school and high school are able to use them and understand them. We'll bring this back at our next meeting and review it. Next, we talked about was an update on strategic priority number 2. As recalls, strategic priority number 2 is to improve the quality and consistency of the school district of Marshfield's response to intervention framework. Well, it's well underway. We've heard both at committee and last month at our board meeting about what's taking place. The district level committee meets on a regular basis, and the elementary staff have been trained in the progress monitoring with Ames Web. The committee has developed parameters for screening for placement in Tier 2. And there are, for all board members and the public, there are 3 different tiers, and with each increase in tiers, we hope to have less students in those tiers and be able to intervene, take care, help them move past their problem and go back down to regular instruction type procedures. We also looked at the building procedures for bullying. New guidelines and policies have been distributed to all of the buildings and discussed at the building level. The student dropout data was discussed. The definition was given to us on what a dropout is. It's defined by why the student exited, whether or not the term was completed, and if he or she has re-enrolled. Marshfield's graduation rate in 4 years or less was 93% in 2010, as compared to 85.7% statewide, 87% in 2011, as compared to 87% statewide, 94% in 2012, as compared to 94.2% statewide, 94% in 2013 as compared to 88.5% statewide, and 94.5% in 2014 as compared to 88.6% statewide. Historically, Marshfield has been very consistently above the statewide average. In 2011, one thing to make note of, as many of the students that did not complete high school in the 4-year window did complete in the 5 or 6-year window. By 6 years, 99% of the students had completed high school. Marshfield's dropout rate hovers between 0.35% and 0.7%, while statewide it's 1.9 to 1.6%. When we compare ourselves to valley schools, we're the lowest in the valley at 0.3%. Wausau is at 0.9, Stevens Point at 0.9, and Merrill was the highest at 1.2%. Under old business, we discussed the RFP for mental health services. It has been distributed. The Instructional Review Committee is set to meet in December. Our international program had some good news. We've been approved to issue F1 visas. A calendar for implementation of the Marshfield International Student Exchange Program was distributed for the next year. And like all things in education, we had to come up with an acronym for that. So it's now called MISEP, misstep. We have many new items for business at our next meeting, and we will be meeting in December. And that's my report for tonight. There are no action items.
Thank you, Amber. Anybody have any questions, Francis?
I just have a question on the international student thing. It didn't dawn on me until I saw that in your report. I know Mike Nixon.
I'm sorry, Francis, my audio is cutting out.
So what's the question?
Oh, okay. I know Mike Nixick has been doing a wonderful job. Are we still connected? I don't know. With that program. And now he's at the middle school. So it dawned on me that the students are going to be at the high school, and I didn't know if he would still be involved or he would be doing it with Mr. Sequati or something, so that somebody at the high school.
Sure. Pat, you want to go ahead and respond on it?
Sure. Based on the way that the Homeland Security sets up the requirements for the program in terms of monitoring and administering students through the SEVA system, which is our Student Exchange Visitor Information System, the individual that is monitoring and managing that must be physically located at the high school itself.
Okay, and that's.
So, Mike, it's great to have him in the district still as a contact person, but the tentative plan right now is to transition Trina Lumens, the new assistant principal that replaced Mike, to become the director from the primary designated officer from the high school to manage that program.
I just knew Mr. Sequati had been involved back when we were originally looking at doing it.
Designated school officer as well, official as well, being at the school.
So they'd be working on it.
Yes, and we have to update, obviously, the application to Homeland Security to get the new names into the system so they understand that we now have a new designated officer to manage or administer the program.
Okay. I appreciate Mr. Nixick's work on it. I just realized the light bulb went off and I'm realizing, oh, he's at a different school, so how are we going to be doing that? So, thank you.
Okay. We'll move now to employee relations. I'm going to pass the gavel over to you, Pete.
And so, since it's the first time I've had the hammer ever in my hands, where do I get from here, boss?
Employee relations, just say, will you give the report on
Oh,
employee?
okay, give the report on employee relations.
Okay, I shall, thank you. I'll just do a little coaching on the side for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Employee relations did meet on October 29th. We talked about the support staff compensation. We had an update. Proposals have been received. They are being currently reviewed by administration. And at our next employee relations meeting, we will be looking at who the vendor and selection criteria that will be presented to us, and perhaps we will be making a decision as to who may have that as a vendor. There was not a personnel report, so we didn't review that at that meeting. There was a Skyward program audit, and the audit was conducted to determine if the district is using the system appropriately and to its fullest capacity, because there is some room for additional kinds of uses of that program. There was, and I might ask Dr. Wells to comment on this, but no, but maybe so, on changing the daily allotments of paid time off for staff to hourly allotments.
Right.
So that it was because of confusion with what the record showed versus what was real.
Well, that's probably a really good way to put it. This is something that'll be coming on in the future, not necessarily in the near future. But yes, eventually for those systems to reconcile, so if you're a part-time employee or a .25 employee, the system doesn't recognize things like .25. It recognizes a quarter of a day, and what is a day defined as? Let's just say a day is defined as 8 hours. So what's .25 of that, and how many hours is that? So that's one of those types of things they'll be working on in the future for staff that are, where they're thinking that they're a .5. What does that mean in terms of either a vacation pay or those types of things? What's a .5? Well, if you're an 8-hour employee, but you're a .5, if it's 8 hours in a day and you're a .5 employee, that means your day of vacation is 4 hours. So they're just going to be working on the system and working on this with the staff going forward in the future to make sure those 2 points can reconcile in the system. Otherwise, it gets to be real sloppy, and you have to go in and have people actually going in and reconciling those systems on a pretty regular and routine basis to bring all that up to speed. And sometimes that, if a person has a lot of leave or something, if they're going through something, they're taking a lot of leave, then that system's not being reconciled on a regular basis. And all of a sudden you can get ahead of yourself with how much leave you actually have available. So it's one of the things they'll be working on.
Okay. The committee did have a period of closed session just to discuss personnel issues. And then after we concluded with our closed session, obviously we went back into open session and then we adjourned. Future items do include a special education budget update, substitute handbook, we continue to review that, extracurricular and extended duty provisions, and review of alternative compensation system in May. So we've received some suggestions for that alternative compensation system, and we're at our annual review. Those items will be brought forward or are listed and will be reviewed at that time. And that is all I have, except that as a member of the Employee Relations Committee, generally we make this motion on behalf, but I will be making a motion individually tonight for the employment of Samuel Catnaugh, who will take the position of a network specialist in the district. He will start fairly soon here on the 12th. So you'll need a second.
Okay, so we have a
Oh,
motion.
and I'm sorry, and I need to add, and that's contingent upon his release from by his current employer.
Okay, so we had a motion by Marlene to approve Samuel Catnaugh as the new network specialist. Francis has offered a second. Is there any comments, questions? So I guess I'll look for a vote.
Mrs. Ledefite?
Yes.
Mrs. Bohan?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mrs. Stulen?
Yes.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Ms. Carney?
Yes.
There are no retirements, resignations, transfers, or increase in FTE. And that concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you, Marlene.
So now, we'll move right to finance.
Okay,
Pete.
well, with finance, we met tonight. We had a review of the monthly bills and very few, if any, questions regarding the bills. We also, a presentation was made, where did I find my notes? By a representative from Eilers, a fellow by the name of Keith Brighton, gave us a review of the sales results of the general obligation refunding bonds, and this has to do with performance contracting that has been completed, and now the bonds were sold in order that we can pay the bill. Any questions on that from anybody? Okay, moving on. We had a discussion of financing options for possible future land acquisitions, which would entail future educational needs. Questions? Moving on to D, discussion of establishing line of credit for short-term cash flow needs, and this has to do with the timing of payments that we receive from outside sources that we may, for a very short period of time, sometimes only a matter of days, that we might need a line of credit to pay the bills. So at this time, I would move that we approve the discussion of establishing this line of credit. And on behalf of the Finance Committee, we are all in agreement that this is the way to go for a line of credit. So do I need a second on that, Marlene?
No, you're doing it not, but it's this resolution for tax and revenue anticipation note.
Okay.
So we have a motion on behalf of the Finance Committee to approve a resolution for tax and revenue anticipation note. And in lay terms, what that means, establishing a line of credit. Anybody have any questions?
I just think it's important for the public to understand that we don't always get our payments from the state in a timeline that coincides with our need to pay the bills. And so that's what this is about.
That's absolutely correct. Okay, seeing none, we'll take the vote on that resolution motion, please.
Mrs. Bohan?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mrs. Stulen?
Yes.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Mrs. Carney?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lightfoot?
Yes.
Next agenda item, Pat presented our proposed timeline for referendum planning. It included a previous reduction list. You all have a copy of that, so no sense in going through that. But it's the timeline, and again, that's all on everybody's agenda. So any questions regarding that possible override, referendum override? Anybody? Okay, moving on. Pat also made a presentation regarding the Finance Committee calendar for 15-16. Again, that's in your agendas. Any questions regarding that? Perfect. Okay, very interesting to me anyhow was the enrollment count history from 1998 to present. Pat provided us very detailed information on what the head count and membership was in 1998 and what it is right now. We've seen, looks like about a 5% decrease from 98 till right now for various reasons. And to my knowledge, and I guess according to Pat, we really don't have a real good handle, Pat, unless I'm wrong here, misquoting, we don't have a real good handle on why it's went from what to what.
No, I think it's partly a combination of smaller families. 2/3 to 3/4 of the school districts in the state of Wisconsin are considered declining enrollment school districts, so it's very commonplace for school systems to see this kind of decrease, and it's happening statewide. So the good news is that, over the last 5-6 years, in comparison to the previous decade or so, we've seen much more stable numbers coming through, so that speaks well for the future. We've had some larger class sizes coming in at the lower grade levels, and as such, that's a good, basis for us then to have relatively good, consistent class sizes throughout for the next several years. So we expect, in terms of projections, to see relatively stable enrollments moving forward.
And there was no old business. Future agenda items included a finance calendar and presentation of the 14-15 financial audit. And so that's the end of my report, Marlene. Oh, unless we have something.
Oh, it was just a theory that, as a baby boomer, the kids that graduated in '98, which was kind of a high point for us, were baby boomers' children. And so I didn't know if that contributed to the higher population at that point or not, but it may have.
Thank you, Pete. Communications? Okay. Old business, we have no old business that I'm aware of. New business, real estate property transaction is an action item. You want to make any comments, Pat?
Would you like me to?
Sure, I would like you to.
Sure.
If you would be willing to.
Yeah, I'll be brief. The district became available, or aware of a property parcel that was available west of Marshfield High School. It's actually the land that encompasses the Tiny Tiger Intergenerational Center. And property we've kind of been kept our eye on for some time now, but just recently it went back up on the market for sale. And so it's actually in total 11.81 acres in a land that is next to the high school. Again, it surrounds the Tiny Tiger Intergenerational Center. The school board had asked for us to enter into negotiations with the real estate agency and the owners for this parcel, these parcels of land. And we did come to an agreed purchase price for the land pending school board approval this evening. And so it is for that reason why you see it before you as an action item.
Thank you very much. Yes, Pete?
And so I would make a motion to approve vacant land offer purchase of 5 parcels of property located at 715 East Becker Road and North Palmetto Avenue, based on the terms of the agreement negotiated between school district administration and property listed by Century 21 Gold Key Realty, owned by Michael Check.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion? Okay. I don't see any. You want to take the vote on it?
Marlene, I want to make one comment on this.
Sure, go ahead.
Everybody's heard the saying, and I'm not doing this to get votes because I believe it's a very worthwhile proposition, but they don't make any more land, and they surely don't make any more land located next to our high school. So this is, in my opinion, as a board member, a wise decision on behalf of the Marshfield School District.
Okay. And the purpose of the land is for?
Educational development. So there's no defined purpose at this very point.
Let's see, for this board and boards of tomorrow.
No.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments? Okay, we'll take the vote on that, please.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Mansell?
Yes.
Mrs. Stulen?
Yes.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Ms. Carney?
Yes.
Mrs. Lightfoot?
Yes.
Mrs. Bohan?
Yes.
Okay, the only other piece of business before us this evening is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Aye.
And everybody says aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for your attendance this evening. We
Where's
are
that
adjourned.
correspondence thing?
It's over by